Welcome to Season 4 of Song Revolution, where you're going to find great information, interviews, and inspiration to fulfill your passionate calling to write great songs. Hey everybody, John back with you for another great episode of Song Revolution. Thank you so much for being here. This podcast is one of my happy places. I love getting on here and just encouraging you. Nashville Christian Songwriters exist to empower you, Christian artists and songwriters, to be the best that you can be, to really fulfill this passionate calling that you have to write great songs, to sing great songs, to lead great worship, and to just share your heart for Jesus for the rest of your life. And that's what we love to do. We've been making this show since 2017, and I hope that you'll go back and check out the archives at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. So many great shows, so many shows that you might not have caught. I loved the Bear Reinhardt, the lead singer of Need to Breathe. That was a great one. Kim Walker-Smith, Matt Maher, Carrie and Cody, just so many. But also there's a lot of teaching back there, a lot of information and inspiration and encouragement for you to stay the course and really to lose what we call LSS, Lonely Songwriter Syndrome. Don't be out there all by yourself trying to do this thing. Join NCS community, join us, follow along, and join in the fun. Well, this past week, I had the opportunity to be part of a convention here in Nashville called NRB, or National Religious Broadcasters. It's been around for a long, long time, and we were able to provide some of the morning worship. We had Clark Beckham, who is one of our artists, Annalise Sherrod, who's you're going to be hearing from her this year, and Justin Barnett, who is the front man for Eau Claire, as well as a worship artist here on NCS Records. We had a great time. So this past week at NRB, I was interviewed by 4 different broadcasters, some podcasts, and some streaming networks. And the only thing they wanted to talk about was AI. So I did a little bit of research to just begin to arm myself for these interviews and to begin to understand what the landscape of AI was. As I was just saying, when I first started hearing AI-generated songs last year, I was blown away because the production sounds like someone put $500,000 into a track. The vocalists are just absolutely flawless. And so I was fooled the first time around. Fool me once, shame on me. No, wait, that's shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? So I don't want to be fooled by it. But I wanted to start understanding it, and I wanted to just share a few things as we begin the dialogue. I know we're going to be talking about this probably for years to come. We're in the wild, wild west kind of a season with this right now because it's so new, and we don't quite know what to do with it. So a couple of things I want to point out. Number one, it's going to get better. I know that as the technology is out there amassing so much information and knowledge and training itself, it's going to get better. And as obviously flawed as AI songs are at this point, I know they're just that technology will grow. So therefore, I think that we have to make peace with the fact that AI is here to stay. It's not going to be a flash in the proverbial pan, just like digitalization. We didn't know really what to do with all of the tech back in the mid and late 80s. We were all learning what to do with it, and it brought massive cultural and creative shifts with it. Tectonic plates were shifting all over the place, and that's really what's happening again. So I want to make peace with it. I want to learn how to use it in a way that, of course, honors God, but helps us. I use AI almost daily in our business when it comes to creating documents, when it comes to systems, when it comes to processes that can be automated. We use it in that way. But when it comes to songwriting, I'm really beginning to formulate some strong feelings about it, but also I think what will probably become some pretty hard stands for us as music creators and as publishers and dealing with songwriters. First of all, we're here to coach, to train, to encourage and raise up real songwriters, real humans. There is a reel going around Instagram from theologian and pastor John Piper, where he actually plugged in a prompt to create a prayer, a 30-second prayer based on the preaching and the theology of a couple of very famous pastor theologians. And in 2 or 3 seconds, he got this dynamic prayer, and he read it out loud. He reads it out loud on the reel, and he asked if this is praising God. And his adamant opinion is that it is not, that it is technology, it's not humanity at all, that it is technology just scraping information, pulling it together, and that our calling is to be real humans praising God. Could it prompt praise? Maybe. Could it maybe enhance someone in their worship? Maybe. But it's really still about that human element. And so far, what I found in reviewing AI-generated songs is that they're pretty plasticky. They're stripped of their humanity. They're not very well formulated. Again, I think the technology will get better, but it is not. If you put in a prompt and you do not write any lyrics and you do not write any of the melody, honey, you're not a songwriter. You're a prompt writer if you do that. And it's not even the same as microwave popcorn. At least when you put the bag of popcorn in there, it's real popcorn. But if you are not generating human lyrics, human emotion, the pathos, the angst, or the worship, or whatever, the testimony of your own life into AI to generate maybe a demo, if you are not creating any kind of melody to put into that prompt, you're not a songwriter. And that's a stand that I'm going to be very strong about in the future, because I believe that you have a calling to express yourself and not to allow AI to express you for you. It's so weird. It's just such a vortex and such a crazy, crazy thing that we're dealing with. On a very practical level, in the marketplace, if you will, of publishing and music making, we're dealing with 3 primary issues, and that's rights, revenue, and reputation. When you put in a prompt and you create a song, when you write a song with AI, what AI really does is it goes out, like, let's say, for instance, you wanted to write a song in the style of Zach Williams, and you put in a prompt to AI, to ChatGPT or whatever, Suno, and you say, I want a mid-tempo song in the style of Zach Williams about the cross of Jesus and me being saved as a sinner. Well, in about 3 seconds, AI goes out and it scrapes 5 of the biggest Zach Williams songs, and it generates an amalgam, if you will, basically a dumbed down, averaged out lyric and melody using Zach Williams and all of his co-writers' creativity. I haven't seen the ad yet, but at NRB last week, someone told me that Stephen Curtis Chapman, I think Lauren Daigle, Michael W. Smith, many of the big Christian artists actually took out a full-page ad in the New York Times saying that AI was outright theft. And I couldn't agree more in its present iteration. If you use it to fully generate a song in the style of Michael W. or Lauren or Zach Williams or name your favorite artist, you are in the place of robbing all of those songwriters, the artists, the songwriters, the publishers, the producers, anyone who brought their creativity, their humanity to that song. You're stealing from them. And I think we're going to see a ton of litigation over this year and the next few years as we unravel this whole thing. And some folks are making a lot of money off of the creativity of other people. There's an artist you may have heard of, fully AI generated. The artist's name is Solomon Ray. And Solomon Ray was created by a Mississippi creative guy named Christopher Jermaine Townsend. They also call him Topher. And it says here that Townsend developed the AI generated gospel artist to produce his music, and he's defended the project as an extension of his creativity. Well, in some ways, I could agree with that. But if Townsend really did not write any lyrics or any of the melodies, then I agree. It's really stealing from any of the artists that AI went out and scraped. And I know that they're working on some legislation and some processes whereby if you did put in a prompt to go scrape some Zach Williams songs, that any proceeds that came from your songs, if you post them on Spotify, Solomon Ray has received millions. He had a #1 song last fall on Christian radio. So he's garnered millions of streams. Thereby, Townsend has actually earned, if you will, the money that he created with this AI artist, because Solomon Ray is not a real person, so he's not receiving, the royalties. But the processes will eventually be in place where if you do that, then the songs that were scraped, #1, needed to have permission. You have to get permission to scrape those artists' songs, and then they would get some of the royalties that comes from that. So we are in a real morass. We are deep in the weeds of how all of those processes are going to be leveled up and figured out. I do know that Spotify last year, according to my research, removed 75 million AI-generated songs. Now that is just astounding. So, wow. Where do you go with that? So the three elements we're dealing with are rights. Who really owns this song? The performing rights organizations, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and I'm sure that Christian Copyright Licensing International, CCLI, will have to come to some terms on this as well for any worship songs being generated by AI. But they are now demanding that there's proof of the percentages that were written by AI. And we publishers are now moving into a season where we are having to have documentation if AI was used in generating the song at all. So it's going to be a very real thing. So the rights, who can actually claim ownership of those songs that were generated, it's going to be a little difficult to prove. But that's the place that Christopher Townsend finds himself in at this point with Solomon Ray.
Hey everybody, we'll get right back to the episode in just a second, but if you're a songwriter who wants to grow in their craft, finally finish those songs that have been stuck in your journal for years, and connect and collaborate with Christian songwriters from around the globe, NCS Community is the place to start. We meet every week to offer accountability, training, resources, masterclasses, feedback, and song critiques on things that you're working on. And it's just a great place to connect with other Christian songwriters and encourage each other on the journey of becoming a great songwriter. NCS's mission has always been to empower Christian songwriters worldwide, and we'd love to see you there. So check it out, NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com/community. You can find all the details there right on our website, and we'd love to see you inside NCS Community. Check it out.
The next thing would be, obviously following that would be the revenue, but there's also the reputation at stake, because if you use AI to go out and scrape Zach Williams songs and you're dumbing them down, then it's feasibly a mar on his reputation. And then all of the deep fakes. I remember a year or so ago on YouTube, I saw Ed Sheeran singing a straight up gospel song. And I'm like, whoa, Ed got saved? Man, he's just doing straight up gospel now? It was a deep fake. And maybe you've paid more attention to deep fakes than I have, but one of the things that someone was telling me last week at NRB was that there had been a video of Billy Graham promoting a nonprofit that didn't even exist when he was alive. And it's so convincing that we are going to have to be very, very discerning if we're not going to be fooled by AI. So it's like we're going to have to just really have a lot of spiritual and natural discernment when it comes to this. Another thing that people ask me on some of the interviews were the spiritual and moral implications of AI in songwriting. And along with John Piper, they were wondering, can God use AI-generated songs? And, my stand on that, all of these other issues aside, really is that truth is truth. I remember a story from years ago about someone coming to Christ and getting radically saved because they found a sliver of paper on their shoe that was a scripture. And they read it and fell under conviction and came to Christ. Well, it was a tiny piece of paper with truth on it. So if AI generates a song and the lyrics have the truth of the gospel and somebody reads or hears it, well, hey, the truth is the truth, and the truth can penetrate hearts. So I'm not against it as a tool of the gospel, as long as we are giving credit to whom credit is due, as long as we are bringing humanity to the equation and using it in a way that glorifies God. And I'll have to say, to Topher's credit, he didn't hide the fact on Spotify that I know of that he was generating this AI artist. I mean, really, kudos to him for jumping in. There is a secular artist, I think it's Xanier Monet or something close to that. I know that there are other AI-generated artists out there. I've not delved into that catalog of music, but it's here to stay, and we're going to see a lot more of this before it's ever under any kind of control. But let me try to be really clear. We've dealt with thousands of aspiring songwriters and artists, and over this last year, we actually have 4 or 5 clients that we're working with in our one-on-one coaching program and our artist development program who started as AI songwriters. They wanted to write songs. They don't sing. They don't play an instrument. And they discovered that they could just put a prompt into Suno and boom, in 2 seconds, they have a song. Now, that's good and bad, right? I mean, in one way, it's enabling and equipping you, if you're not a singer or you're not a musician, to write songs, to hear them brought to life. But the issue is, lots of issues, but the songs themselves have never, that I've listened, I've reviewed maybe 40, 50 songs so far. They're not formulated very well. They're just a mishmash of a whole lot of things. They sound like $1 million. And I think that's the real problem. To the undiscerning ear, your mom or your dad or your auntie or uncle or your church, people who aren't deep into songwriting and publishing, and the new songwriters who are still trying to learn the craft, you can be so deeply fooled by the sound of this song. You can be moved by the sound of the vocalist and the sound of the gigantic orchestra and the big choirs and the arrangement that AI can do. It is phenomenal. It really, really is. It's crazy what it can do. But as a publisher and as someone who's been doing this I'm in my 5th decade now, when I listen to the songs and I study the lyrics, there are 18 different ideas in one song. There is not room for more than one idea in a great song. And writers will say, isn't this great? Isn't it fantastic? It sounds so good. And I'm like, yes, it sounds good, but it is not a good song. If you took all of that production, if you took the $1 million worth of AI instrumentation away from that song and played that song on a piano or a guitar for me, it's not going to stand up. It's just not going to stand up. Not anything I've heard so far. I do believe AI is going to get better, but I don't believe it's going to get this good. It could. I could be wrong. But I think that we will always take a stand that we here at NCS want to coach real songwriters, people who want to learn the craft of writing an incredible verse that feeds right into an incredible chorus that people want to sing, that brings your heart, your testimony, your humanity, your worship, who you really are as a human being into that song. So I want to ask you to just don't be fooled. I mentioned a moment ago, we have 4 or 5 clients who got really frustrated with AI in the last year and a half, because it really was not their expression. They were pushing a button and getting a song, but it really wasn't them. It wasn't their heart. It might have said some good things. It might have sounded cool, had a good beat, and was easy to dance to, but that was about it. I've not heard one song generated by AI that I think is going to last or ever make any kind of mark whatsoever. So I want to ask you to be very careful. I want to ask you to really be discerning. I want to ask you to not shortchange yourself and take the easy way out. I think that's what it offers right now. It's really, I think it's probably pretty addictive. We had one person bring us about 30 AI songs. We have other people that have already posted 20, 25 AI songs on Spotify, if they're even still there. I'm going to ask you to be more fully committed to the Spirit of God alive inside you, and to not shortchange or foreclose on the talent, the real desire that you have on the inside of you to express yourself. If you punch a button and get a song, that's not you. That's not the Spirit of God. That's technology scraping other human being songs and delivering something to you that will fool you. Don't do it. Just don't do it. I think it can be a great tool. If you put a full lyric into AI with a full melody that you've written and said, give me a demonstration recording of this song, okay, that's a good use of AI to me. If you really wrote the lyric and you really write the melody, you might not be perfect, and that's okay. But I believe that's a worthy use of the tools that we now have at our disposal. But don't shortchange yourself. Don't just truncate the process. Don't take the easy way out, but ask God to give you the courage to use a tool like AI in a godly way, in a way that doesn't really let you off the hook of becoming a great communicator. I tell you, it's really worth it. I would not change the analog days of my life, and digital was a pretty hard transition. It cost a lot of us our jobs back in the day. It shut down whole record companies and publishers. It shut down book publishers and even some authors when we made that hard shift. And now we're making an even harder one, I think. We're definitely in the early stages of it. But I wouldn't trade the thousands of hours laboring over a lyric or struggling with the right melody for the words that God poured out in my own heart. So I'm going to ask you to not shortchange yourself or God by just taking the easy way out. Go look up that John. Maybe we'll put the John Piper Instagram link in the show notes. And we want to walk with you as a real human being make the music that God has put on your heart. Now, I know we're going to be continuing this dialogue. Bryant will be back with me. We have some great interviews coming up the rest of this month. We appreciate you liking and sharing and using the technology of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok to share the show, to really spread the love of what's happening here on Song Revolution, and to jump into NCS community, to really grow as a human being. I mean, if you use AI exclusively, you are not really growing as a songwriter. And I believe that God wants you to grow. There's so much joy. I remember Andy Rosier, who was at Harvest Bible Church with the Harvest Worship folks up there. And one time I was talking to him, and he said, do you know why God called you to be a songwriter? And I said, no. And he said, because he wanted to spend more time with you. And I believe that for you, that's why God has called you to be a Christian communicator, because he wants to spend more time with you. I hope that you'll join me again on Song Revolution. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for joining us on today's episode. Be sure to check out all the information below in the show notes, and be sure to like and share. We'll see you next time.